had as a matter of policy that we prefer some form of mixed member proportional system. That's where I'm at personally as well, and but it's something that the kind of nitty-gritty details would have to be worked out on. We don't have a full proposal, but on principle, I think it's important to maintain the idea of having specific regions of the country and ridings within the country that are represented by an individual whose job it is to represent that, and then to use list MPs to balance out Parliament and make it more representative of Canadians' views overall.
We'll get going. The member will have 2 minutes left for questions and comments after his speech following question period. Statement by members, déclaration des députés. Honorable député de Rivière-du-Nord.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a year ago, yesterday, a great Quebecer left us, Jacques Parizeau, a pillar of the Quiet Revolution. He was an artisan of the enrichment of Quebecers, individually and collectively. He was at the root of our distinct economy, but his best known trait is his humanism. He was promised to a great career, both within and without politics. He vowed to build a prosperous and fair Quebec. He opened many doors for Quebecers and got us used to success. He gave us confidence in ourselves and in the future. He saw big for Quebecers, and he devoted his life to that. It's with great pride that we continue his work for a free and prosperous Quebec. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to congratulate the Liberal Party for last week's adoption of Policy Resolution Number 5 to develop a poverty reduction strategy aimed at providing a minimum guaranteed income. Guaranteed minimum income is an idea whose time has come. Every citizen, no matter who they are or what their employment status happens to be, everyone receives a minimum income. Dr. Rob Moyer, Associate Dean of Research at UNBSJ, has proposed that a prototype be implemented and studied in St. John, where we have the highest rate of child poverty in the country. St. John is the ideal place for this project. To quote Dr. Moyer, a professor of economics, the numbers are large enough to be statistically valid, but small enough to be traceable. 8 UNB PhDs, Mr. Speaker, across 4 disciplines have already committed to this project. I fully endorse this initiative of Dr. Moyer's and have risen today in the hope that my words will encourage others to do the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bravo. The member for South Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in this House today to bring awareness to an issue that has caused more than 1,000 deaths in Canada. Opiate overdoses will kill 800 people in BC this year if the death toll continues at its current rate. In the first 4 months, 256 people have been killed and a public health emergency has been declared in BC. On Saturday, a 23-year-old from my community ended up on life support and a 22-year-old from Kamloops lost his life. Last year in Alberta, there was 274 deaths associated with fentanyl. It is 40 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. Drug dealers are importing an inexpensive powdered fentanyl, mostly from Mexico and China, but it doesn't end there. A new drug on the street, W18, and other W-series opiates are 100 to 1,000 more times toxic than fentanyl. And as Edmonton Public Health Dr. Varani commented on a recent drug bust of 4 kilos of powder, and I quote,
The Honourable Member for La Salle-Mont-Verdun. Mr. Speaker.
I rise today to honour the exceptional civic engagement of the residents of La Salle-Mont-Verdun.
We have many examples of organizations that work for the well-being of the community, such as the Optimist Club, the Centre for Aid to Immigrants, and the Santé Femmes de Verdun. The citizens of La Salle-Mont-Verdun are committed people, just like my fellow citizens present here today for our day on Parliament Hill. I'd like to take this opportunity to underscore the exceptional work of Mr. Robert Tivierge, a fellow citizens of La Salle-Mont-Verdun, who dedicated his life to the socio-economic development of our country. After a fruitful career at CEDA, he continued to use his expertise through the Canadian Executive Service Organization. This organization gave a prize to this exemplary volunteer. As we say back home, dear Robert, just don't give up.
Mr. Speaker, last week the United Steelworkers in the City of Hamilton were forced to file a second motion in the Ontario Court of Appeal after the judge still refused to release the secret deal made between U.S. Steel Canada and the federal government in 2011. Details of the secret deal are critical for all parties involved as negotiations with potential buyers move into a critical phase. Only U.S. Steel Canada and their parent company have access to that information. How does that make for a fair process? This government can easily resolve the issue by releasing the secret deal. But since being elected, the government has refused to help the 20,000 vulnerable pensioners or the 1,600 workers whose jobs are at risk. They have said nothing, zero. I've asked the Prime Minister and other ministers numerous times to release the details of the secret deal. Their non-answers have insulted me, the pensioners, and workers of U.S. Steel Canada. This government should be ashamed. Step up to the plate, release the secret deal, and show the leadership people expect and deserve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Thérèse de Blainville. Mr. Speaker, every year Canadian films are selected in the most prestigious festivals and events abroad and win many prizes. This year was no exception. I wish to particularly underscore the exceptional success of director Xavier Dolan at the last Cannes Film Festival for his most recent film, Juste la fin du monde. He won the Grand Prix of the official competition as well as the Ecumenical Jury Prize. Thanks to his talent and sensitivity and unique creativity, Mr. Dolan has reached exceptional heights. He's part of a pool of Canadian audiovisual creators who make their mark on the international scene. The Canadian audiovisual industry contributes to the development of our culture and is an important part of our economy. We are proud as a government to invest over $670 million per year to this industry. On behalf of the Government of Canada, congratulations, Mr. Dolan.
Mr. Speaker, the Niagara Region Public Health was awarded the Canada's Choice Award as part of Infoway Canada's Imagination Ideas Challenge. Now, the task was to come up with ideas that would enhance access to healthcare services and improve the quality and efficiency of the Canadian healthcare system. Now, the Niagara Regional Public Health created a mobile application called Mum to Be, offering help and guidance to expectant mothers at every stage of their pregnancy. Now, the app has been downloaded over 17,000 times across Canada, an impressive statistic, Mr. Speaker. Now, on behalf of all Canadians in the House today, I congratulate the Niagara Region Public Health on their achievement in providing this new resource, making for a more positive pregnancy for mothers-to-be and a better outcome for Canada's preborn children. Thank you.
The member for Hamilton West and Castor Dundas.
Mr. Speaker, Canadian women and girls have achieved significant progress in recent decades, and much remains to be achieved. In our cultural mosaic, Canadian women lead diverse lives in a great range of different experiences and circumstances. In this diversity, we must build platforms for women to realize their brilliance by ensuring pay equity while also investing in childcare, healthcare, housing, employment, training, and other areas that influence women's choices and opportunities. Organizations like the YWCA in my hometown of Hamilton need long-term sustainable investments so that they can continue to offer women and girls reliable supports to help them seize and create opportunities to reach their full potential. Mr. Speaker, building a better future for all Canadians starts with recognizing the potential of women and girls and creating systems that enable them to flourish.
The Honourable Member for Avignon-Lamitis, Matam Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to see how many farmers mobilized today in order to express their support for the Canadian dairy industry and to protect supply management from those who want to abolish it. I want to underscore the presence of producers from my region, the Lower St. Lawrence, Île-de-la-Madeleine, and so forth. In the last few weeks, the Minister of Agriculture's Parliamentary Secretary and many members had productive discussions with many representatives of the dairy industry who will help our government to develop a sustainable strategy for the whole industry. With the position of certain Conservative members who called for the abolition of supply management this week, we now understand the lack of action by the previous government. The government is determined to finding a solution for the dairy industry, and I can assure you that it will continue to defend supply management. Our government strongly supports our producers. The dairy industry is vital for our economy.
Mr. Speaker, over the past several months, the Liberal government has refused to amend C-14 legislation in order to provide adequate conscience protection for medical professionals and healthcare institutions. They also voted against our Opposition Day motion that would have guaranteed these professionals their charter right, freedom of conscience. Repeatedly, we have heard the government indicate that we can count on provincial regulatory bodies to provide conscience protection. However, as we've seen, the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario and Saskatchewan have both indicated there's an expectation on the part of their medical professionals to refer for the practice of physician-assisted suicide. Enough is enough. Constituents in my riding have been crystal clear. This bill must provide clear, ironclad conscience protection for healthcare professionals and institutions. I hope this Liberal government will listen to Canadians and do the right thing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Thunder Bay, Rainy River.
Mr. Speaker, today is the first anniversary of the release of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's final report. I'd like to acknowledge the incredible work of Senator Sinclair, Commissioners Wilson, Chief Littlechild for their work in advancing the cause of reconciliation in our country. The report's calls to action provide all Canadians with a renewed path forward for Canada's unfinished journey of healing and reconciliation. The government has committed to fully adopting the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People and is moving forward with the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Inquiry. It is also making historic investments in education and infrastructure and is working in a full partnership with Indigenous peoples to build a national framework to further ongoing reconciliation. But reconciliation is the responsibility of every Canadian, and especially parliamentarians. I urge all members in the House to do their part.
The honourable member for Mississauga East Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to announce that on June 7th, the Canada-Portugal Parliamentary Friendship Group will be hosting the first celebration of Portugal Day ever to be held on Parliament Hill. It's a day celebrating both Portugal and the Portuguese communities worldwide around June 10th. And now it's recognized here in our nation's capital. It is a special day of pride for me, both as a Portuguese immigrant that came over with my parents and my sister, and also to reside in Mississauga, a city to over 20,000 Portuguese Canadians, many of whom are my constituents living in my riding of Mississauga East Cooksville. This Day of Portugal honors the date of the death of the 16th century poet Luís de Camões, who captured in word Portugal's Age of Discovery, when Portuguese explorers led the world in mapping the coasts of Africa, Asia, and Brazil. I say to this House and to the Portuguese community across Canada, Feliz Dia de Portugal!
The honourable member for Beauport-Limoilou.
Marks the 100th anniversary of the death of Lieutenant Colonel George Orwell Baker. Lieutenant Colonel Baker was elected as the MP for Brome in Quebec and is one of only 2 sitting MPs to have died during the Great War. Sadly, he was killed in action at the Battle of Mont Sorel. Here, in Centre Block, can be found a monument which is dedicated to Lieutenant Colonel Baker's personal sacrifice to Canada. Despite such commemoration, it seems that there is no official memory of this event in Ottawa. Indeed, there are no gatherings at the War Memorial or of the militia units who carry the battle honour of Mont Sorel.
In addition, we can't find any government websites or reports from the CBC that teachers could use to educate young people about this historic event. And yet, almost 8,500 Canadians were injured or killed in this battle. Here in Ottawa, a city where Canadians gather to debate the legislation that governs us, we should commemorate the sacrifices made by our ancestors, especially in significant battles.
Mr. Speaker, on June the 4th, Canadians will celebrate National Health and Fitness Day. Over 240 cities and towns across Canada will mark the day with local events to encourage Canadians to be active and use our trails, parks, and recreation facilities. It is important for all Canadians to understand and appreciate the benefits of physical activity to our health, our economy, and our environment. You can join me at a number of events in my riding of Oakville North Burlington on Saturday, including a trail bike ride from Burton Park in Burlington and an outdoor yoga class that I'm hosting at River Oaks Community Centre in Oakville. A big shout out to the Burlington Sports Alliance for their efforts and kicking off the day at Nelson Park in Burlington. I encourage everyone to get active on Saturday and every day and help make Canada the fittest nation on earth.
The honourable member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, June is ALS Awareness Month. The theme this year, Seize the 30 Days, is a reminder for all of us to seize every day and live our lives to their fullest potential. This campaign also causes us to reflect on our fellow Canadians suffering from ALS, a condition which abruptly cuts life short, often in its prime. More than 3,000 Canadians and their families live with this disease, and at least 3 succumb to it every day. Few communities go untouched, and this includes our very own parliamentary community. When news arrived of the diagnosis of our dear friend, the member for Ottawa-Vanier, we joined together on all sides of the House to express our collective compassion and solidarity with him. His work in this chamber, service to our country, and courage and grace facing this illness are a model for us all. So this month, let us seize the moment. Let us commit to finding a cure to this deadly disease and ensuring that all Canadians have access to high-quality palliative care in their final days.
The honourable member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, with one more sitting day after today before the stay on the declaration of constitutional invalidity expires, it is now clear that the government cannot meet the June 6 deadline to pass Bill C-14. The Minister of Justice has rightly warned of a legal vacuum absent legislation, and yet the minister could do something to stop that legal vacuum from arising, namely by applying to the Supreme Court for a short-term extension of the stay to allow time for Parliament to pass legislation. And yet, Mr. Speaker, the minister has done nothing. She has been all talk and no action. As a result, Mr. Speaker, on June 7th, there will be no certainty for patients, no certainty for physicians, and no protections for the vulnerable.
The honourable member for Saint-Léonard Saint-Michel. Mr. Speaker, Leonardo da Vinci, Maria Montessori, Dante Alighieri, Giovanni Caboto, Sophia Loren, Michelangelo, Marconi, Julius Caesar, Verdi, Christopher Colombo, Pavarotti, Caterina de' Medici, Federico Fellini are just some of the names of the geniuses that have fashioned our history over the millennia and have an origin in common and one passion and one country, Italy. Today, June 2nd, all Italians, including the community here in Canada, is celebrating La Festa della Repubblica Italiana. I urge all my colleagues to underline this festival and pay tribute to the unknown heroes that are Canadians of Italian origin who, through their sacrifices, have contributed to building Canada.
Ça nous fait vouloir du cannelloni.
That makes us want cannelloni.
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, today the Prime Minister actually said that he won't allow a referendum because it's often used to stop things. That is one of the most arrogant and elitist things that I've ever heard. The only thing that he is stopping is the right for Canadians to have a say in what their vote means.
That's right.
Why does the Prime Minister have so little faith in Canadians?
Prime Minister, democratic institutions.
Mr.
Mr. Speaker, our approach today has been about working collaboratively with all parties in this House. Our approach today has been about moving the conversation around process to getting down to the work of hearing from Canadians what their needs and aspirations are for their electoral system. I thank the honourable members in this House for the healthy debate on this topic and look forward to getting down to the work.
Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can't believe that the government's defence of this, that their process used to be a sham, but now it's less of a sham because the NDP are working with them. It would actually be funny if it wasn't so serious. But, Mr. Speaker, the voting system actually doesn't belong to the Liberals, and it doesn't belong to the NDP. It belongs to Canadians. And when you change what their vote means, Mr. Speaker, when you change what their vote means, Canadians get to say yes or no. So why are the NDP and the Liberals taking that right away from Canadians?
Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, our approach from the very beginning has been to bring together a committee made up of all elected parliamentarians to act as a forum for the people of this country to have their voices, their needs, their hopes and aspirations known. Today, we did something a bit different, Mr. Speaker. According to the members opposite, we were elected on a promise to do politics differently. That means cooperating. That means recognizing that good ideas can come from all parties. And I thank all members for their contributions to this healthy debate and look forward to hearing from Canadians.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this is not a decision for politicians to make. It's a decision for Canadians to make. Instead, the Liberals and the NDP negotiate in secret, making deals in the backroom to actually take that decision away from Canadians. No matter who the committee talks to and no matter what report they write, at the end of the day, it's up to Canadians to say yes or no. So why are the NDP and the Liberals taking that right away from Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, we're going to do three things. First, we're going to engage Canadians on their electoral reform. That is what the committee, on which we no longer have a majority, is going to do. Second, based on the committee's feedback and the input we receive from all of Canadians, we are going to bring recommendations to this place. It will be up to all members to debate that. And, Mr. Speaker, third, we will not move forward on changes without the consent of Canadians.
The honourable member for Richmond North Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, we already knew the government had no real intention of consulting Canadians because they stubbornly refused to hold a referendum. But today they even have the gall to join forces with the NDP. What they're spinning as cooperation is really a backroom deal between two parties who don't care what Canadians want. Mr. Speaker, the real question is, are they going to try to change the rules of democracy with a Liberal NDP deal, or are they going to consult Canadians through a referendum? All Canadians.
Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that the Conservatives cannot move beyond their narrow political interests in protecting the status quo and allow Canadians to have a say in this process. The concept of asking a committee to reach out to Canadians may be a strange one to the members opposite, but it makes most sense to Canadians and most of us on this side of the aisle.
Most members are able to listen to the question and the answer, even though they don't like what they hear, without reacting. That's the polite thing to do. So let's do that. The honourable member for Richmond Athabasca.
Mr. Speaker, we're starting to see through the Liberals' games. Canadians have every reason to be very worried about what they're seeing today. We've said since day one it's crazy to let a mere committee change the way we vote. Now, the fact that two parties are in cahoots to pull the committee's strings, it's hardly any more attractive. The only way any electoral reform can be legitimate is for all Canadians to approve it. Mr. Speaker, will they finally commit, yes or no, to holding a referendum to consult all Canadians directly? Will they drop the partisanship, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister.
Speaker, unlike the member opposite, we have a great deal of respect for the work that committees have and continue to do on behalf of Canadians. The Special All-Party Committee is going to come together. The Bloc and the Green Party will have a vote. The government does not have a majority on this committee, but the opposition does. I'm going to sit down.
I think it was a light that burned out up there and made a bit of a noise. Honorable député d'Hochelaga.
The honourable member for Hochelaga. Mr. Speaker, the last time dairy farmers demonstrated here on the Hill, the government told them, don't worry, we'll talk for 30 days and find a solution. 30 days are up and still nothing. Today, the farmers are back in greater numbers. For them, it's a matter of survival. Is the government finally going to hear their cries and solve the problem of dye-filtered milk once and for all? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, as a farmer, I'm proud to see so many farmers mobilizing today on International Milk Day and supporting supply management. We will continue to support this industry. We have met with producers. We will defend supply management, which provides stability for thousands of Canadian families. We will defend supply management and Canadian families. The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. That's all nice rhetoric and talking points, but farmers want action. Dairy farmers are losing tens of thousands of dollars a week because this government is still dragging its feet. Our supply management system has enabled our farmers to flourish, but numerous breaches are throwing their future into doubt. When the government caves in on trade deals, it promises compensation, but nobody has received a single penny yet. Why does this government care so little about our farmers? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, this government is the one that set up supply management. We're the ones to defend it. We will be meeting with industry stakeholders all across the country. Over the past weeks, we've met with them and had productive discussions, and we've developed a long-term strategy for the entire industry, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Essex.
Mr. Speaker, the fact is, for decades, supply management has guaranteed reliable and safe poultry and milk, meaning stable livelihoods for hundreds of thousands of Canadians. But now Liberals are pushing ahead with a job-killing TPP trade deal, with no sign of compensation for dairy producers that stand to lose big from this bad deal. Canadian farmers are tired of the deafening silence from this government. Why are Liberals backing away from their commitment to Canadian farmers?
Secretary for Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, as I just said, we're aware of the concerns of the industry when it comes to dye-filtered milk in cheese production. The government and industry are working together to find a fair and lasting solution for all Canadians. Our government fully supports supply management.
Essex.
That was the story 30 days ago and remains the same today, with more farmers standing here on the Hill. I know that Liberal MPs are quick to shake hands with the dairy farmers on the lawn, but when it comes to rolling up their sleeves and taking action to defend dairy producers, Liberals are nowhere to be seen. Imported dye-filtered milk undermines our supply managed system and cost Canadian dairy producers more than $220 million just last year. A fix is simple and quick. So why are the Liberals failing to enforce laws and protect Canadian dairy farmers?
Mr. Speaker, supply management is one of this government's values. The official opposition wants to scrap it, but we're protecting it. We want to have a modern, prosperous, growing industry. The industry is constantly changing, but ensuring stability for families is one of our priorities.
It's time for the Minister of Democratic Institutions to stop using persons with disabilities as tools to prop up her argument. Elections Canada is constantly working to make voting easier for persons with disabilities. She knows that work is ongoing, and she knows that that work has absolutely nothing to do with changing the voting system? Will the Minister of Democratic Institutions stop using persons with disabilities as a ploy for her increasingly weak arguments against holding a referendum?
The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions.
I thank the honourable member for his question. Days ago, I met, along with the Minister for Persons with Disabilities and Sports, with the Elections Canada Advisory Group on Persons with Disabilities. During this conversation, Mr. Speaker, we were asked to bring their voices to this place. We were told that the very act of voting remains an obstacle course for many persons with disabilities. Our job in this House is not to just speak on behalf of those who have privilege and means. Our job is to ensure that the voices of the marginalized are included in this conversation.
The honourable member for Edmonton-Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, the minister's repeated use of people with disabilities as strategic pieces in her political game is not okay. My son Jaden has autism, and he cast his first vote in October. The Elections Canada folks were absolutely wonderful, helping him through that process. Having a referendum on which voting system to use will have absolutely no impact on Jaden's ability to vote. Will the minister please call a referendum and let all Canadians, including every Canadian with a disability, have their say on this important issue?
The Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful that Jaden's had a positive experience in participating in the democratic process. That is the kind of full participation that we'd like to see from all persons with disabilities and exceptionalities. Our intent to enhance is to enhance the number of those who vote. Our intent is to enhance accessibility. Our intent is to be more inclusive in our approach in good governance. And Mr. Speaker, we will deliver on that intent by continuing to listen to Canadians and speaking on behalf of those who do not have as big of a voice in this place.
For Banff Airdrie.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Democratic Institutions claims that she wants to have a conversation, but instead seems to be doing a really good job of dancing around the real question. And it's a question that millions of Canadians are demanding an answer to. It's also a question that I've asked the Minister several times in a very straightforward yes or no manner, and I've heard nothing but platitudes in return. So let me try once again, Mr. Speaker. Will they finally drop the platitudes and commit to a referendum, yes or no?
The Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, today we did something that's a little different for the members opposite. We reached out across the aisle and worked collaboratively with the parties opposite to enhance the process. We need to move this debate away from a debate on process and get to the substance of hearing from Canadians what their thoughts and ideas are for electoral reform. Only then, Mr. Speaker, can we begin to discover ways to determine how to engage their broad support on any changes we move forward. Today was step one, and I look forward to working with all members of this House.
Member for Banff Airdrie.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals claim they want to consult, but the whole point of consultation is to ask people their opinion, not to have backroom deals with other political parties. So what better way to get the opinion of every single Canadian than to ask them in a referendum? The Liberals are refusing to give Canadians the final say. Why don't they commit to giving this important decision to all Canadians, not to the political parties, through a referendum?
The Minister of Democratic Institutions.
When the former government decided to bring forward the Fair Elections Act, did they consult with parliamentarians? Did they consult with Canadians? Did they hold a referendum? Did they include the voices of the Chief Electoral Officer and include his feedback in the changes they brought forward? They did not. Mr. Speaker, we have learned from their mistakes. We will engage with Canadians. We have empowered a special all-party committee to hear from Canadians what their views are before thoughtfully bringing forward a motion, a plan to this House for deliberation. We will do that, Mr. Speaker, in a respectful and inclusive manner.
Member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston.
Mr. Speaker, if I understand the first part of the minister's response there, she said the last government acted inexcusably and now it's our turn to do so. Mr. Speaker, the only protection Canadians have against the Liberal plan to rig the next election is the de facto veto afforded by a referendum. The Prime Minister said today that he doesn't think his proposal could win the support of the Canadian people. Isn't that the best reason for having one?
And the Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Speaker, after 10 years of undermining our democratic institutions, the party opposite was asked to stay in opposition. Canadians provided us with a mandate for change. They asked us to do politics differently. They asked us to work collaboratively with other parties. They asked us to listen to their ideas before unilaterally making any changes. Mr. Speaker, today we demonstrated that this is the way we will govern. This is good governance. We will continue to listen to Canadians, and we look forward to bringing our electoral system into the 21st century.
We're hearing a lot of banter and response when ministers are answering questions, and I think that colleagues ought to have confidence in the ability of their colleagues to offer arguments in response to an answer or a question, for that matter, without having to intervene when they don't have a mic on anyway. And now the mic will be on for the honourable member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston. Let's listen to him.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on May the 10th, the minister defended the then structure of the proposed special committee on electoral reform by saying, after the committee had done its work, our team will then present a cabinet with a proposal. In other words, there's a committee on which Green Party members and the Bloc and the NDP will sit, but when the actual decision gets made, when the actual proposal is designed, the actual legislation that will come before Canadians and change our electoral system, only Liberals will be in the room. It will happen in secret. Nobody will be present. We'll have no way of finding out what's going on. The Liberals maintain their monopoly, Mr. Speaker. That is inexcusable. Why will she not allow the Canadian citizenry to make the final choice in a referendum?
For democratic institutions.
Mr. Speaker, on October 19th, Canadians made a choice. They mandated us to govern this country in an inclusive and responsible manner. On May 10th, Mr. Speaker, I put forward a motion to begin the work of hearing from Canadians what their thoughts are. We did so with complete intent to hearing from all Canadians and all parties ways to improve this process. The New Democratic Party provided valuable insight, as did all members of this House. We took that into consideration, Mr. Speaker, and we came to this place with a refined approach. We look forward to working with all members of this House to continue to enhance this.
The honourable member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Hundreds of dairy farmers from the Montérégie are here demonstrating against Liberal inaction. The government had promised a solution by now, but dye-filtered milk is still pouring over the border. For our farmers, they lost $220 million last year. Our regional economy and the next generation of farmers are in jeopardy. Why is the government dragging its feet and subjecting dairy farmers to more lean years instead of just enforcing their own rules? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, as I just said, we're aware of the concerns of the industry about the use of dye-filtered milks. As promised, we are meeting people from the industry from all across the country. We're a government that protects and will protect supply management. The honourable member. I'm sick and tired of having to ask the same question. If you don't mind, I'm going to have a little rant here. I'm frustrated by how the Liberals are letting our dairy farmers down. They promised us a solution to the problem by now, but clearly they're not walking the talk. The government should stop saying that it's complicated enforcing the act. It's either milk or it's an additive, a powder. Decide. In Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, it's costing $3 million a year. Will the government keep its word, or was that just an empty promise? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, as a farmer, I'm proud to see how many farmers are here today to underscore International Milk Day and to defend supply management. We're aware that the industry is going through tough times, and we are putting lasting long-term solutions in place. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, there's a bad pattern with the Liberals, like Liberal governments in the past, entitled to their entitlements. And now the infrastructure minister. He spent nearly $1 million on an office reno. When many Albertans can't make ends meet, they're losing their homes, they're choosing between wants and needs. Infrastructure money isn't getting to projects that provinces need, but the minister sure is a fancy new office with swanky furniture. Why was it more important for the minister to spend money on himself than to keep his promises and actually actually fund priorities.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. There was no office before 2015 for Infrastructure Canada. There was no office space for the Deputy Minister and staff. There was no dedicated space. The importance of this file is such that office space had to be arranged for the Minister, the Deputy Minister, and the ADM and staff. This was all done in keeping with Treasury Board guidelines.
Now there's no money left over for infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today the Quebec government pointed out the lack of infrastructure spending and the complicated process the Liberals have put in place. I guess Quebec didn't get the memo. The only infrastructure money being spent is on posh Liberal cabinet ministers' offices. Mr. Speaker, the infrastructure minister spent almost $500,000 on furniture to deck out Sky Palace 2.0, but there are empty offices and warehouses full of used furniture sitting collecting dust everywhere here in the nation's capital. So does the minister realize that he came to Ottawa to serve the taxpayers and not have the taxpayers serve him?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I said this already, I'll say it again. The minister was quite clear on this. The minister needed an office, and so did the staff. And that's because we're going ahead with the biggest infrastructure plan in Canadian history. $120 billion will be investing for our young people, for our seniors, for a greener economy. We're going to build the Canada and the economy of tomorrow.
Speaker, millions of Chinese citizens, victims of widespread and well-documented human rights abuse, must wonder about the Prime Minister's fresh start with their communist government. We recall, of course, the Prime Minister's professed admiration for China's basic dictatorship. Yesterday, the Chinese Foreign Minister angrily refused to answer any questions at all about China's lamentable human rights record. Mr. Speaker, isn't it time for the Liberals to rethink and recalibrate their priorities on the China file?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We believe that engaging with China in a comprehensive way is the best option. Even when we don't see eye to eye with each other, we believe that dialogue is the most effective way forward. Having regular high-level interactions with China on a range of issues allows us to continue to have frank and honest conversations and to make progress on difficult issues. Canada consistently raises human rights concerns with the Chinese, as our Foreign Affairs Minister did yesterday. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Yes, well, Mr. Speaker, diplomatic news conferences are usually the stuff of deflected questions and high-level platitudes. But yesterday, the Chinese Foreign Minister furiously dressed down a journalist who dared ask about human rights abuse and the imprisonment of Canadian Kevin Garrett on unsubstantiated charges of spying. The Minister of Foreign Affairs stood by quietly and said he raised these same issues behind closed doors. Now, Mr. Speaker, can the Minister tell us then if the Chinese Foreign Minister was as angry, condescending and disingenuous in his denials there, and how the Minister responded?
Well, Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Consular Affairs.
So, Mr. Speaker, on the one hand, they don't want us to talk with China. On the other hand, they're saying we're not talking enough with China. This government will never abandon our Canadian citizens abroad. Unlike the previous government, we will always stand up for citizens abroad. Our officials, our minister has raised the Garrett's case and will not stop until the Garretts return home safely.
Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie.
During a press conference yesterday, a Canadian journalist was berated by the Chinese foreign minister for asking a question about human rights. While this was happening, the global affairs minister just stood by. Freedom of the press is an important value for Canadians, and yet our minister stayed silent. Mr. Speaker, will the government stand up for human rights and freedom of the press and join so many Canadians in criticizing the behavior of the Chinese foreign minister?
Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday was actually the inaugural meeting of the Canada-China Foreign Affairs Ministers' Dialogue, which is an important new platform for expanding high-level engagement between our two countries. These discussions will focus on advancing mutual interests in our bilateral relationship, as well as global peace and security, and of course, human rights. Asia is a critical region of the world. Canada is an Asia-Pacific country. This is an excellent beginning for discussing how to expand our strategic partnerships for the benefit of all Canadians. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Mr. Speaker, according to Human Rights Watch, Saudi Arabia is currently arming Yemeni forces. These forces, led by General Mohsen, are accused of human rights violations and of the recruitment of child soldiers. We have no guarantee that the armored vehicles sold by Canada will not end up in the hands of this general, but the government continues to turn a blind eye. Why do the Liberals refuse our proposal to create a committee to study arms exports?
Speaker, Canada has some of the strongest export controls for military and strategic goods in the world. We committed to ensuring that Canada will become a party to the Arms Trade Treaty, and that will be an important component of our increased rigor and transparency on export controls. Furthermore, this government takes every opportunity to raise critical issues with senior Saudi officials with respect to humanitarian issues, consular issues, and human rights, as the Minister did in his visit to the region last week. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Kingston and the Islands.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In 2010, the Conservative government of the time closed several prison farms throughout the country without doing proper consultation into the usefulness and viability in providing essential skills for inmates. In my riding of Kingston and the Islands, 2 prison farms were closed in Collins Bay and Joyceville without proper consultation of the public and to widespread concern from the public. My question is to the Minister of Public Safety. Can he provide some input into whether or not this government will continue along the same path or reverse that decision of the previous government?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the short answer is yes. We are launching a feasibility study on restoring prison farms in the Kingston area. This process will allow citizens, business leaders, and other stakeholders to share their visions for what the program could look like, and it will allow the government to review the cost and efficacy of reinstatement. An effective criminal justice system is built on evidence-based policies that promote public safety and the reintegration of offenders, and I thank the member for Kingston and the Islands for contributing to that goal.
The member for Chilliwack Hope.
Mr. Speaker, the Ethics Commissioner has ruled that the new Minister of Fisheries and the Canadian Coast Guard cannot have any dealings with the Irving family. However, Irving Shipyards is a major supplier to the Canadian Coast Guard. Irving is undertaking major warranty work on several new Coast Guard patrol ships, a file that must be managed by the Coast Guard Minister. The Prime Minister has placed his new minister into an obvious and unavoidable conflict of interest. Will he realize the situation is unacceptable and appoint a new Minister of Fisheries and Oceans today?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Fisheries. Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect high standards from our government. The Minister raised this question with the Deputy Minister of the Department, and the Commissioner's recommendations will be followed to the letter. In the meantime, the Minister will follow the rules established by the Commissioner, and the Minister has already contacted the Ethics Commissioner for her recommendations, and they will be followed. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we think the Coast Guard Minister should be able to deal with Coast Guard files. The Ethics Commissioner has said that the new Minister of Fisheries and Oceans must not have direct dealings with the Irving family, their associates, or business interests. James D. Irving is on the board of directors of the Atlantic Salmon Federation, which deals with declining salmon stocks in Atlantic Canada, another file that has to be managed by the Fisheries Minister. Why did the Prime Minister appoint a Minister of Fisheries and Oceans with so many clear conflicts? And when will he replace him?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, the Minister was proactive in informing the Ethics Commissioner about his friendship with the Irving family and asked for advice. The Commissioner put in place filtering measures, screening measures, and the Minister will withdraw from any discussion that has to do with Mr. Irving and his companies. And today the Minister is following the recommendations of the Ethics Commissioner and will always do so. The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, because of a decision of the Ethics Commissioner, the government House Leader must not have any business dealings with the Irving family. But since the Irving shipyard is one of the major suppliers of the Coast Guard, it's very surprising that he was appointed to this position. In these circumstances, how can the new minister claim to be doing his job effectively whereas his hands are tied? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, as I have just said, and I repeat, our government and its ministers must always follow a high level of ethics. This question was raised by the minister with the ethics commissioner, and the deputy minister and the minister will always follow the rules of the ethics commissioner to the letter. That is what he pledged to do, and that is what he will do now and in future. The honourable member for Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, and my colleague from the government can stand up and claim that there is no problem. But the truth is, there is no way to believe that the minister can do his job properly when his personal dealings prevent him from speaking with the Irving family. The Irving family owns the shipyard, and James Irving also sits on the board of directors of the Atlantic Salmon Federation, which is up to the Minister of Fisheries as well. The minister needs to be changed. When will this happen? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. The minister was proactive in informing the ethics commissioner about his friendship with Mr. Irving and to ask for advice. The commissioner recommended the putting in place of filtering measures, and the minister will not be involved in any discussions that have to do with Mr. Irving and his companies. Mr. Speaker, once again, the minister is following and will always follow the recommendations of the Ethics Commissioner. That's what we do on this side of the House, and we will continue to do so and to follow the recommendations of the Commissioner. Thank you.
Ascona.
Mr. Speaker, a clear priority for the FCM meeting this week is the challenge faced by Canadian municipalities in mitigating climate impacts to infrastructure. Just this week, the Commissioner for the Environment reprimanded the government for failing to ensure that federal infrastructure programs directed at mitigating environmental and climate impacts to cities actually deliver results. Equally troubling, she raised concerns with the dwindling gas tax revenues, a significant source of municipal roads, housing, and infrastructure. What concrete measures is this government taking to ensure our cities are sustainable?
Here, here. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, for a number of years, the National Disaster Mitigation Program and the mitigation aspects of the Disaster Financial Arrangements Agreement have not been fully utilized by previous governments. That is why in our campaign platform, the Prime Minister included the specific undertaking that we would examine those very programs and determine how to improve the uptake. And in fact, in addition to that, we've added $20 billion in green infrastructure funding that can assist directly with those mitigation measures.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are unable to roll out the funding for infrastructure projects in Quebec. The Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs is complaining that federal bureaucrats are constantly applying new conditions for approving projects so that Quebec doesn't think it will not receive any funding before 2017. It is such a problem that now the Premier of Quebec is meeting with the Prime Minister. Why is the funding for Quebec infrastructure projects taking so long to be approved? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, we are working closely with our partners in Quebec to fund infrastructure projects that Quebecers need. And since we came to power, we have also made 6 announcements in Quebec to the tune of $36 million. And that was funding not rolled out under the previous government, but that has been rolled out under us. In the next weeks, we are planning to make further announcements in Quebec, and we are working closely with our counterpart, the Minister of Finance, Carlos Letao, and we are going to finalize an agreement thanks to consultation, partnership and action. The Honourable Member for Bois-Paul-Limoilou. Mr. Speaker, recently the Veterans Affairs Minister accepted the decision made by his colleague, the Minister of Justice, allowing the government to take our veterans back to court under the Equitas affair. This shows that the minister is more interested in his political relationship to the Minister of Justice than his responsibilities to our veterans. Mr. Speaker, the minister must take responsibility for these files. When will he revisit his decision and end this dishonorable court case? The honorable member. Minister.
As this member is aware, this lawsuit emerged under the former government. I can tell the member
that we are delivering on behalf of veterans and their families. Just this budget, we delivered $5.6 billion in financial security to veterans and their families. We will continue to address the mandate items to ensure veterans and their families have more opportunities to build their lives and find more success. We're proud of what we're doing, and we're continuing to go down a forward-thinking path.
Mr. Speaker, we're not talking.
Honourable member for Beauport-Limoilou.
Broke. On Tuesday, Conservatives submit an amendment to the budget bill at Finance Committee. This amendment would have ensured that the Liberals' modification of the earning loss benefit would not affect the most vulnerable veterans. This amendment was rejected by the Liberals, and veterans around the country have been voicing their concern. Why is the minister playing political games and putting veterans at risk, instead of working with this official opposition?
Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to say of a decade of veterans not being heard, we are listening and addressing their concerns. In Budget 2016, we addressed our promise to move the earning loss benefit to 90% of a veteran's pre-release salary from a 75% level under the former governments. Veteran had asked for these changes for a decade. We moved on it. We delivered on it, increasing financial security for those veterans who are most disabled and those veterans who have served our armed forces with great honor and great dignity. We are there for them.
Député de Charlebourg. Honourable member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, after the officers of the U.S. Army, it is now the Commander of Canada's Special Forces who has confirmed that our troops are on the front lines near Mosul. Brigadier General Rouleau says that the troops spend 20% of their time in the combat zone, and yet the Prime Minister has always told Canadians that this is simply a training mission for Iraqi troops. Can the Minister confirm what percentage of our soldiers are being deployed in the combat zone on the front lines?
That's the Secretary to the Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, as you know, the Canadian forces are among the best in the world for training and advising and assisting missions. And accordingly, they have been deployed by this Parliament and this government to do exactly that. That mission has not changed. And anything beyond saying that would be of operational difficulty for us to say, and I'm unable to comment further on that.
Borough Centre.
Mr. Speaker, polio was once a disease that ravaged the world and was particularly devastating to children. The first vaccine was developed in the 1950s, and many more countries have since been declared polio-free. However, Pakistan had 53 cases of polio in 2015, the highest for any country, and its persistence in Pakistan is the largest barrier to eradicating polio forever. Could the Minister of International Development and La Francophonie please tell us what Canada is doing to help eradicate polio in Pakistan?
Ministre du Développement International.
Honourable Minister of International Development.
Center for constant support of the Pakistani people. The persistence of polio in Pakistan is the biggest obstacle to its eradication worldwide. But recent evidence prove that vaccination campaign is paying off. And I recently pledged $60 million for the eradication of polio in Pakistan. We are committed to end it for good. Thank you.
The Alderman member for Central Okanagan's Milkmain Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the CEO of Moosehead Beer from New Brunswick told CBC that he agrees with the opposition that the Como decision should be elevated to the Supreme Court. And I quote directly, "The sooner there's some kind of decision, the better for everyone involved. Moosehead can compete in an open market if both tax and non-tax barriers to trade are eliminated by all provinces. We sell beer in all 50 states in the United States with pretty open borders, and hopefully we can get to that point soon." Mr. Speaker, why are the Liberals refusing to listen to people like Moosehead? Why are they denying people who want to buy Canadian? And why won't they elevate this to the Supreme Court?
Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite knows we are listening to Canadians. We're engaging them through the process of the Agreement on Internal Trade. This process in collaborative form allows us the opportunity to work with our provinces and territories to talk about these issues. And these are important issues, Mr. Speaker, because it's about growing businesses. It's about making sure that products and services can go from one jurisdiction to the other. It's about making sure that we have a future, a bright future for our children and grandchildren. And me, particularly, Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud to say that I'm motivated by these talks to make sure that a brighter future exists for my two young girls, Nanki and Kirpa.
Member for Port Moody Coquitlam.
Inspections of fishing violations off the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador have dropped a whopping 50% in the last 5 years. We've also learned the capacity for the Coast Guard to respond to emergencies has been weakened. Our Coast Guard was gutted by the former Conservative government's budget cuts, and their failure to update the aging Coast Guard's fleet only made things worse. Will the Liberal government commit today to reversing Conservatives' ill-advised cuts, restore Canada's Coast Guard, and protect Canadians, our oceans, and our fisheries?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Fisheries. Mr. Speaker, at the Department of Fisheries, the people are aware that we must protect our oceans and our ecosystems to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that the Coast Guard vessels, the patrol ships, that protect our oceans. We will invest in them to ensure that our fleets are up to standard. And, Mr. Speaker, we will work in consultation with the different partners and stakeholders to ensure that that commitment is honoured. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Miramichi-Grand Lake. Mr. Speaker, the people in my riding of Miramichi-Grand Lake understand that the Canada-Europe Free Trade Agreement will offer Canadian businesses access to a market of 500 million people and an economy worth $20 trillion. And they know that this agreement will create numerous jobs, not only in my region, but all across Canada. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade tell this House about the actions taken by the government to conclude this agreement? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. Our government is working hard to ensure that the Canada-Europe Free Trade Agreement is swiftly ratified. The Honourable Minister of International Trade is currently in Europe, where she met with the European Commissioner of Trade, Matthias Fekl, the Foreign Affairs French Minister, and the Minister of Trade for Holland. She also held interviews with the French media to promote this agreement. We are working tirelessly, Mr. Speaker, to conclude this agreement.
Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks ago I asked the Minister of Agriculture if he would intervene on behalf of the Manitoba pork producers to keep the highly contagious PED virus out of Canada, but he refused. Mr. Speaker, it's also only been a few weeks since the Canadian Food Inspection Agency changed the rules, and already an outbreak of this deadly virus has been reported on a Manitoba farm. Oh my. So, Mr. Speaker, will the Minister of Agriculture now finally stop ignoring our farmers and work with the Manitoba pork producers to find a solution to contain
Our Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, we are determined to protect animal health in Canada. Urgent emergency measures have been put in place on the border between Manitoba and the U.S. until the concerns of the industry with regard to the epidemic can be assessed. Further to scientific review, the CFIA has determined that nothing has caused us to put in place such measures. The industry will be able to adapt to the measures. The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, the dairy producers are in Ottawa to ask the government to solve the issue of dye-filtered milk. The Minister of Agriculture says that it is not milk when it crosses the border, but the same minister says that it is milk when it is time to put it in cheese. We've been hounding the minister week after week, and he keeps telling us that he is doing something, but he's not. Instead of always repeating the same thing over and over, why doesn't the minister stand up for Canadians and solve this matter once and for all? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, on May 3rd, we pledged to consult the entire dairy industry, and that is what we have done. Mr. Macaulay, as well as myself, have met with the industry, the dairy producers, and we discussed very interesting proposals, and we are currently analyzing those proposals. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for La Pointe-de-l'Île. Mr. Speaker, in Quebec, food sovereignty is something we care about. Twice, our National Assembly has unanimously called on the government to fix the issue of dye-filtered milk. In Canada, when the federal government talks to GMO exporters in the West, it says, well, let's open the borders. But it says the opposite when it talks to Quebec's dairy producers. There are more holes in supply management than there are in Swiss cheese. Does the government realize that because of its inaction, it is proving that the best thing that can happen to Quebec farmers is that Quebec become a country in its own right so it can make decisions based on its own interests? Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, farms in Quebec and in Canada are all Canadian farms. In past weeks, we have listened to the dairy sector. We've had very productive discussions, and we are working to help develop a sustainable strategy for the dairy sector. Our government put in place supply management and will continue to defend it for all Canadian farms.
I believe the honourable member for Regina Capel has the usual Thursday question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, and I wonder if someone from the government could inform the House as to what the Chamber will be debating for the rest of this week and when we return after the weekend next week as well.
Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, today we will continue debate on NDP opposition motion. Tomorrow morning we will commence debate of Bill C-15, the budget legislation. Following question period tomorrow, we will begin consideration at third reading of Bill C-6 on citizenship. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, we will resume debate on the budget bill. We are presently in discussion with the opposition House leaders on the length of debate. Hopefully, we will be able to find agreement. And next Thursday, June 9th, shall be an allotted day. And finally, Mr. Speaker, for next Friday, we'll proceed with second reading of Bill C-13, implementation of the WTO agreement.
Order. I encourage members who want to have discussions to have them out behind the curtains or in the lobbies. The
honourable member for Hochelaga has a point of order. Order. Mr. Speaker, there have been discussions amongst the parties, and if you seek it, you will find that there is unanimous consent for the following motion. May I continue?
Ted. Allard.
Order.
Order. The
honourable member for Hochelaga. As I was saying, Mr. Speaker, you will find there is unanimous consent for the following motion, that at the conclusion of debate today on the opposition motion standing in the name of the member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley, any question necessary to dispose of the motion will be deemed voted and deferred until Tuesday, June 7th, at the end of question period. Does the honourable member have the unanimous consent of the House to